This video is sponsored by .deck.co.uk, the place to be when it comes to all the stuff you need for the Pokemon trading card game. They have singles, complete competitive decks, and even some epic sleeves and deck boxes to pimp out your deck completely. So if there's still something you miss in order to go to a certain tournament or league, go take a look at .deck.co.uk. Alright, it's black and white on. Her gold, soul, silver, and Call of Legends are gone. Some decks will fall apart, but we gotta stay strong. We'll keep making the decks till the break of dawn. So follow me, follow me, follow me. We are going to look over the stuff we went to over these past few months and scrap all the ideas that we just don't want because they're useless now. Just think about CMT with Celebi and there. Oh wow, we're the decks that rely on Smeargle. Had the format just doesn't allow the older stuff like Shaman and How. Will the deck remain solid or will they have to bow down to the better ones that go all around? Electric is still in town. Will Darkrai still be wearing a crown because he's the king right now? Or will we see new ideas popping up out of nowhere? Oh look there, a bunch of new reactions are looking around the corner and everyone's aware because they're awesome and they will kick ass. So get them when they're fresh, don't even think a little bit about stress. Can everyone get into this game? Yes. Can everyone get new cards? Yes, because a new format will give you a chance for success. So come on people and test the trading card game and you'll be impressed how much fun it can be. And if you are still doubting, just look at me. Last year was the time I started playing and I'm just saying. What's up YouTube, it's ZapdosTCG here, and in this episode I'll be talking about the black and white on format just because I had so many requests for this episode that I couldn't refuse making it. And yeah, I'll talk about which decks will fall apart, so I hope that's interesting for you guys out there. So as you probably heard already, starting on September 1st, the new format will be into play in every competitive deck and tournament out there. So we can't use Hurt Gold, Soul Silver cards anymore, like Undaunted as well, Unleashed, Triumphant, Call of Legends. So we'll only be able to use black and white and beyond cards. So yeah, it'll only take effect on the 1st of September, so we can just enjoy our last moments with PONT, Junkron, Dual Ball, Smeargle, Shaman, Vileplume, and any other competitive card from the older sets for that matter. Anyway, let's check out all the competitive decks at the moment and let's see if some can survive or some will just be dead forever. Alright, let's start off with, of course, Darkrai EX variants. The thing that will hurt the most in this deck or in other decks as well is the PONT being gone, Junkron being gone, Dual Ball being gone, Smeargle being gone, and Shaman being gone. And for those of you that don't know what PONT is, it's Professor Oak's new theory. It's just a short term for that card. And yeah, PONT can easily become a Bianca, or you can just run more Ents and yeah, even Cheerin, so that's fixable. And yeah, no Junkrons. That's just terrible. Every deck will definitely slow down in the late game, so yeah, we'll definitely have to run Sableye and Darkrai EX variants just to get back our dark patches, otherwise we'll run out of steam so quick that it isn't even funny anymore. Dual Ball is also gone, so I guess we'll just have to run more Ultra Balls or even Level Balls if you want to run something like getting out Sableyes for that matter. And the thing that will hurt the most in Darkrai EX variants is of course Smeargle, because the deck usually runs Smeargle at the start just to get your Darkrai EX build up on turn 1. You can manage to do that thanks to 2 Junipers or something. Like, let's say you use Juniper on your first turn, then you use something like Smeargle's Portrait, and there's Juniper in your opponent's hand, use another Juniper, and then you have like 3 energies or 2 energies, basic darkness energies, and your discard pile. You could just use 2 dark patches and you could build up a Darkrai EX on the bench with 3 energies. But now Smeargle is gone, so those decks will be slowed down a little, and they'll definitely force people to go with Tornadus EX to deal a ton of damage at the start, because Darkrai EX won't be able to attack on turn 1 unless you have something like a perfect hand like Juniper with 3 energies or something, or just some similar situation like that. And yeah, Shaman is also gone, so that'll be hard to move around the energies at the same time, but there's also a bit more room in the deck since, yeah, there are junk arms that are gone, so you can just manage to run something like energy switches. Those could do the trick. But yeah, DCEs won't be able to switch around with energy switch, so you'll have to run more basic darkness energies. So yeah, the future still looks good for Darkrai EX variants, but as I said, Smeargle is gone, so the speed will go down like crazy, but this counts for every deck that used Smeargle, so that's fair. Another Darkrai EX variant was Zoroark, Weavile, and Darkrai Darkrai EX, but since it loses Weavile, this deck kind of sucks in my opinion, because you'll have to run only Zoroark and Darkrai EX, and yeah, there are better Darkrai EX variants out there, so I wouldn't run that deck anymore. And next up is everyone's all-time favorite and easy to build deck, Zekrom Electric. The important stuff that's gone here is Junk Arm, Dual Ball, and PONT. Well, without Junk Arm, it's a bit harder for every deck in the late game, that's true, but here you also made use of Junk Arm to get Lightning Energies and the discard pile, while you can just use stuff like Ultra Balls to do that job for you, or even run other cards to do that or something. More Junipers, definitely. In this format, you want to have 4 Junipers in every deck, just because, yeah, without PONT, it's the best draw supporter out there. And yeah, for PONT, I would just, a replacement would be here running more Ents and Bianca or even Chiron. So yeah, this deck survives as well, since it's a pretty solid deck. Next is CMT, aka the old donking deck. Yes, I said old donking deck, since this deck is completely dead. I rapped about it in the intro song, so yeah, it can't survive without Celebi, since this deck, Celebi was the heart and soul of the deck, and without that it just fails. If you still want to play a donking deck, I suggest you play something like a new rogue idea, like Tornado ZX combined with Aerodactyl and some plus powers. That way you can dunk like crazy. But yeah, that deck usually fails, since it only runs Tornado ZX, and you can just use other attackers if you want to, but I think it isn't that competitive. But in Japan it's doing great as well, so maybe we can test it out in the future. I can just think that if Electric is still around with Zekrom, Tornado ZX will just go into the discard pile really fast, so I'm not a huge fan of that deck. Next up are fighting decks. These decks basically survive because they can run a bunch of Ents already, so they actually didn't run that many PONTs. They run Junipers, a bunch of those, a bunch of Ents, so just run more random receivers if you're missing your PONT, or run Chiron, that's also a sweet replacement. But in this deck, the late game, you might just suffer like crazy, because the loss of Junk Arm is just deadly. But since fighting decks have so much room available with a rotation, you can just run multiple copies or more copies of a certain card. Like, let's say you run 4 catchers instead of 3 plus powers instead of 2, and the list goes on. So this one passes as well. Next up are the Empoleon variants, and these decks will suffer a lot with the loss of PONT, so I just suggest you run Chiron in this deck, since it works pretty well with Empoleon's ability. And maybe you can run Virizion as a starter Pokemon to draw cards at the start, but yeah, since Myrtle is dead, this one might just be still playable, the Virizion. Just try it out. Next up are Vileplume variants, and I only have one thing to say for those decks: they're all dead. Yeah, you heard me right. Vanillus won't work anymore, Mew Prime is gone, Reuniclus is an open target without Vileplume, and the list goes on. So, as they would say in South Park, we had trainer luck, and it's gone. Next up, as a Klinklang deck I reviewed in the previous episode, I think this deck will become even better in the future, just because we'll be getting the new blend energies, and those work better than rainbow energies. And yeah, without Junk Arm, the same idea counts here. Just run the most important stuff, just max it out, like 4 rare candies, 4 max potions, 4 heavy balls. But another sad thing about this deck is that it loses twins. That way you'll have a harder time to set up your Klinklangs. But once you do have your setup, it's incredibly good. And another tip here is to run the Klinks and Clanks with a retreat cost of 3, that way you can get them out with heavy ball, and you don't have to rely on collectors, since collector is gone. And yeah, level balls might also work to get out your Klings at the start of the game. Next up we have Quat Ante. This is a new deck that has been winning a couple of battle roads, and I haven't really reviewed this deck yet, but it works just like a solo Terrakion deck. The bad thing is that Junk Arm is gone. This is bad for everyone, so I think that the Darkness decks will be the only ones that have an advantage thanks to running Sableye, but nevertheless this deck might still work in the future. We'll have to see. And yeah, next on my list are the decks that I haven't mentioned yet. Durant's, yeah, this one won't work anymore. This one doesn't have twins anymore, and Heatmore is still there, so Durant is completely dead. Next we have Legend decks like Lugia Legends and other stuff like that. Those are all illegal, and the same goes for Magnezone and Mega, and then Electrode variants. So everything on that point is dead. So let's just list them up again, so we'll see what we'll have. We still have Darkrai decks, Zekeel decks, Fighting decks, Quad Ante decks, Klinklang decks, and Empoleon decks. And that's about it. Maybe some rogue decks with Asselgore could work. I seen something like Asselgore with Vileplume, but Vileplume is dead. But also Asselgore with Gothitelle, something like that. So yeah, we might just see some rogue decks popping up. But that's all of the decks I could think of. But yeah, as you know, the new set comes out on August 15th. The new set will definitely feature a ton of new cards, so we'll have more variation by then. But that's it for the analysis of the decks that I will will still live on. And now let's go on to Poké-News, and if you already checked out Poké-Beach, you'll see that there's a ton of news available for the video game Black and White 2, but I won't go over that. Instead, I'll talk about trading card game news. And we start off with 3 English scans of our new set, Dragon X Salted, and I already reviewed all of them and some older episodes where they were still Japanese scans, but yeah, you can always pause the video now to check them out again if you somehow forgot or if you're a new subscriber. Anyway, now to the last part of this episode, and that's about the 6th Japanese Black and White set. As you see, the promo card is none other than Keldeo, and there was one of those epic commercials again in Japan where they showed some scans, and since I already talked about Black Kirami X and White Kirami X and their amazing tool cards, I'll be wrapping it up for now. You can always watch my previous episodes to learn more, so I hope you enjoyed this particular episode, and if you did, click the like button. You know I always appreciate that, and if you have any questions, thoughts, or epic new ideas, then the comment section is your place to be. And for those of you that haven't subscribed yet, here's your chance right now. That way you'll stay updated once there's a new episode on my channel. Anyway, this was ZapdosTCG. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, and till next time.